situate myself in this forum. I am from the Central Electricity Board, and we operate under framework from Ministry of Energy and Public Utilities, where we have water, electricity, and in the energy efficiency we have MARENA. So today I understand that we are going to drill down from the report or the strategic plan which has already been published. From there, how do we reach the switch in your home to be able to meet those objectives? There's a long way to go, different steps. There has to be a roadmap, and eventually we have to deliver at our end. So I'll be happy to answer any questions regarding implementation and the technical part of what we say is supply and demand. So then we will have the time to discuss further. Even after this forum, I'll be open to be in touch with you all, even outside at the CEB. Anybody having any idea, anything to share, I am open. So we will all enjoy this session together. Thank you.
We'll probably try this microphone because I can hear some. This one is better.
Thank you, Professor Elahi. Thank you, Khalil. Thank you, Shamshir, Dejan, panelists, and of course, so many friends around in the panel. I'd like to recognize a few of them. So, Mohamed Bai, Inevitable, so it's so nice to see you. And then also some of our friends working together. Maybe in my opening remarks for 2 minutes, I'm here as a representative of BM, Business Mauritius, just to share with you our perspective with respect to investment. Over the last 11 months, from the state of the economy to the government program, to the budget, and to the recent comprehensive plan that was approved by cabinet, we see a clarity in terms of the visibility for where we want the energy sector to go in terms of the three main pillars, the three main objectives: energy security, very important, energy transition, and also renewable energy, to be constructed, to be built around 6 pillars. Those pillars being solar energy, wind energy, phasing out of coal through a biomass framework, decentralized, of course, PV, smart grid. It's good we have Shamshir with us, a key important component. And then the minister mentioned about the improved regulatory framework. We see opportunities emerging, definitely from the sector to be only a public good to become an economic sector. Electricity becoming an economic sector with clear sort of regulatory environment, with clear investment roadmap, with clear sort of powers, because that will help really for us to meet our objectives. So I'll spend some time answering some of your questions, and there will be some leading questions on what I see. We need that investment roadmap to meet the objectives through the 6 pillars which have just been mentioned, approved by cabinet about a week ago. And that, to our mind, will be very important. Don't forget that in the budget speech, mention was made, which I will not forget, paragraph 63 of the budget speech, of transformative investment of 30 billion rupees. And these 30 billion rupees, we can sort of have a breakdown of them and see how to make that happen, which will be a major game changer.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor, and the MARENA, the University of Mauritius, for this invite. I'm Dejan Manga from the Economic Development Board, a proud graduate of this university. And what does the Economic Development Board mandate within this sector? First of all, our main objective is to promote Mauritius as an investment destination and to facilitate trade and investment, and also to provide sectoral policy advocacy to government towards improving the business environment and investment in the sector. I've been responsible for the energy sector since 2013. I've been working in the energy sector since 2013 at the level of EDB. And there is lots of milestones we have achieved, and there's lots of also that needs to be achieved. What is our role in this perspective? That we are the interface between the public and the private sector, and how we intervene is that we usually facilitate these projects, which are very complex. I mean, solar energy, renewable energy project can appear very straightforward on paper, but on ground the reality is different. And here, I think that the investors know that is testimony to the challenges that is there on ground to get this project materializing. As Mr. Marcon was saying, that there is the last national budget that provided for 30 billion of investment in the sector, that is transformative investments. And at the NDB, we follow these investments on a monthly basis, quarterly basis, and we also provide reports to the relevant authorities on the progress, on ground progress, and how these investments are materializing. And we must also understand that electricity in itself is a base for economic development, and we need to find the right balance between the electricity sector, forthcoming projects, electricity security, and also its spillovers and how it does affect other sectors.
I think this is a good point to talk about energy security, and I'll ask probably Mr. Shamshir Makoun, right now, as we speak, how secure is electricity supply in Mauritius? What's the state of? We are still green right now, I understand, but how do you see the security situation related to electricity in particular, electricity supply today?
Okay, so it's a very hot question, given the situation we've been going through, especially as mentioned on the 15th of October by the Minister. I'll first of all say that how did we end up
I'm just
here?
wondering if you don't put the microphone too close,
Yeah.
it's going to be better.
Okay,
We'll see.
so how did we end up here in this situation today? We normally at the CEB, how do we do our planning ahead, not to fall in this situation today where we have just limit in terms of capacity to serve demand. Today we have capacity of around 610 megawatt firm capacity, that is not intermittent as solar, because when we switch on the light has to be on. We have to fuel the economy. This is the first thing, which is called the energy security. And then renewable energy, we may add on in that. We may come, maybe in the future, combining the PV with battery will be equivalent to some form of firm power, but not today. We reached a record demand of 567.9 megawatt of peak on the 5th of February this year. And unfortunately, at that very moment, we had two major units, one of 37 megawatt, an IPP, and one of 30 megawatt at CEB, which were on fault. Now somebody will tell me, why are you on fault? Now let's come back to the planning methodology. How do we plan? We have a department which is called the corporate planning department. We do forecasting of demand over 10 years, and we know over 10 years how are you going to meet the demand. But and if at every particular instant, if we have a demand of X, let's just say 400 or 500 megawatt, we need to have what we call a spinning reserve above that, which is normally 10% of the 500. That is, it must be in the system so that anybody switching on and off any lights or any machine, instantaneously the machine can deliver. So this is called a spinning reserve. Over and above that, we need to cater for one unit under maintenance because we have maybe 40 generators in all around the island. And these generators, they run continuously, 24 hours, some of them, some 12 hours, but whole year. But every year, we have to pull them down, strip them down, do their maintenance, and put them back online. So there's a maintenance plan when at any moment you have around 30 megawatt, a biggest unit, or 40 megawatt that has to be out. So we need 40 megawatt to plan for maintenance. Then it comes to 90 megawatt. So we need 590. On top of that, today, I think the minister mentioned that out of 600 megawatt that we have, 400 megawatt has already clocked nearly 35 years. So we are running generators which are less reliable than they were before. Doesn't mean that they'll fail, but they're less reliable. So you may at any point in time have a failure. So you have to account for one machine to fail. So it is, let us say, 40, 40, and 50, which makes 120, 130 megawatt. So 500 megawatt, we need 630 megawatt to be able to give what we say in terms of reliability of supply, a reliable supply, so that when anything happens in terms of probability of failure, you won't notice anything. So if we take the situation we came around in the early February, if it is 600 megawatt, so it is 660 plus 80. So we should have had technically 740 megawatt, but we have only 610 today. Now, there were projects that were in line, that were working like solar PV projects, a lot of PV projects, but they were operating. Today we have around 80, 90 megawatt of PV during the day. Normally we have two peaks, one in the morning and one at night. What has happened? The peak has evolved. It's no more in the day. So the 80 megawatt from solar is not here at night, and we have to supply the higher demand at night, the peak, without the solar PV. So it depends only on the firm capacity. And we have figures telling us that there has been 100,000 of new AC units sold last year. 70,000 will be sold again probably this year. And when I look at the outlook of the meteorological station, it seems that we are going to have a humid, hot and humid summer. Now, not only temperature, humidity has a very big role to play in air conditioning. So we're expecting that the situation will worsen. So basically, the security of supply today, I can say that we are trying the best not to do any maintenance and to ensure that what we have doesn't fail. We do the best, but it may happen that a machine may fail. Now, if we don't do maintenance at all, and we have all the 610 megawatt machine available, we are forecasting 575 megawatt. My forecaster may confirm that. 575 megawatt coming. So 610 megawatt, so we have only 25, 35 megawatt in the reserve. Now, if one biggest machine fail, will be just limit. So we will have to monitor and to ensure that all the machines are available. Now, the problem will not arise all day or all over the year. It's only in summer, and the peak occurs between 6 and 9 p.m. So it comes up to only roughly a few hours over a year. So we don't have to alarm people. That situation will occur only in a few times a year. In summer only for 3 months and 3 hours a day, and also only weekdays, no weekends. On weekends demand is low. So we are trying to cope with that, and we come up with this alarm, warnings protocol, just to be able to trigger a morning we plan that today one machine has failed, we will not be able to meet demand, we give you a head warning. Then people has to react, and the campaign that has been launched by our communication team, EEMO and MARENA, will trigger the contribution of people, and also we have the help of the private sector,
Yes.
and we managed to get it through. So this is how we are operating and how the situation is.
Thank you very much. I think it's a good point to do a transition to Mr. Hajimakun. The security of supply, be it electricity or energy, could be fuel. Is it the responsibility solely of CEB, or should there be shared responsibility? To what extent, when it comes, for instance, to the private sector?
My direct reply will be, we should have a shared responsibility. And just to build on what Shamshir just said, we're able to establish between CEB and BM and LARIM a working group that worked out the DRP, the demand response mechanism, and we're able even to negotiate a price. And
can you tell people a bit more about the DRP? Because maybe something very briefly.
Right, very quickly. When we had the problem in February, it was not in a planned context, and it was quasi-mandatory for CEB to move in and ask companies to be off and use their own production, their own generators. Now, what we said that then we started a discussion with CEB. We said, let's plan it because it's going to happen, because investment won't take place overnight to increase the capacity for the spinning reserve that Shamshir mentioned. So we said that there is capacity within the private sector, especially in the hotel sector, around 30 to 40 megawatt. I speak in the correction, Shamshir.
Maybe more.
Triple around 40, Mr. Iqbal? About 40 megawatt in terms of generating capacity. Let's work out a mechanism. Let's agree on a pricing formula. Let's agree on the way it can be triggered. And after a few weeks, we were able to work out, and it got triggered 4 or 5 days before Diwali without problems. So the demand response mechanism is a very clear example of the shared responsibility. But coming back to security, we have to recognize, again, I come back to, at the end of the day, as the minister said, you can have targets, but if you don't make that target happen, investment happen, you have a problem. Okay, and we know that investment can be shared investment in terms of course, public and private sector, especially in base load, which has to be done. And I'm very happy to see the minister and our discussion with Shamshir that today we are talking about really unlocking all that investment which was there for some time.
Since we're talking about investment, probably a direct question to Mr. Marga. Investors, not necessarily in the energy field, RE, they come for small cities, hotels. Can you tell them that there is no security of supply, or someone wants to invest in Mauritius, you tell the investor that he or she or the company has to bear some of the production itself as far as electricity is concerned. Can that be done? Is it being done, or what do you think about this possibility as such for new investors in particular, attracting FDI as we see?
Okay, just to take a history turn on this question. The straight answer is mostly yes to all of the question. To outline, there is a linear correlation.
Can we try without the microphone? I'll just see if it works better.
To outline, it's just that we have
no. Okay. We need energy.
So just to outline it that we have a linear correlation between economic growth and electricity supply. This can be easily validated during the COVID period and the previous growth trend. If you plot a graph between electricity supply and economic growth, there is a direct correlation there. With regards to investors, one of our key benchmarking that international agencies like the World Bank and even any investor prior to investing in a country, they see the reliability of supply and security of supply. And you can see the trend if you take South Africa, for example, when there was this load shedding issue and they couldn't match the demand. There was a disinvestment in the country with mostly manufacturing, also services sector moving out of the country. So the security of supply is prime. And the next leg of the question was, can there be a shared responsibility? Totally yes. I'll take a few examples. Is that when right now the current practice has been for the CEB with regards to the cash flow issue, etc. Lastly, is that when there is investors coming with huge loads, like smart cities, huge manufacturing companies, etc., there are two things that with the help of EDB we managed to do. One is to try to share the burden of the cost. For example, with regards to GIS station, I'm made aware that some of the smart cities and even the private sector, even the public institution like AML, Landscope, etc., they do contribute part of the investment in the substations. And with regard to demand itself, we have had cases where promoters manufacturing units were up and ready. However, the load was not available for the peak period and even daytime at this specific location, where we try to negotiate is that they operate during the off-peak hours, and they still agreed to operate from 11 to 5 a.m. with a maximum production. This is how we intervene with businesses, etc., to share the responsibility, share the investment. However, it remains crux of the matter that energy security is prime.
Thank you. We'll come back to it. I have a question for Mr. Makun, and Mr. Makun, it's the same question. I think it will probably bring the matter from different perspectives. Is the price of electricity in Mauritius too low, too high, too expensive?
I'll start first because then Shamsher will correct me. No, the price is an issue, and definitely, I'll just take a very concrete example where I think in terms of shared responsibility. 2 years ago, when the tariff of electricity in the manufacturing sector went up from 79 to 100%, and also we know that CEB was subsidizing manufacturing by about 100 million a month, about 1.2 billion. Why? Don't be impressed and annoyed by how this is the first thing CEB will tell me when I go talk to them. We are subsidizing you by 100 million.
I think you're already replying for him.
And when the tariff had to go up, which we took a view on that of course, let's have an investment option. And that's why for the manufacturing sector, there is that scheme whereby you can invest with a payback of 9 years. You produce your own CNIS. Okay, for the manufacturing sector, I mean, the company I worked for, we are investing about 1.2 billion rupees for about 19 megawatt. Yes, and I'm happy to see the minister mentioning also the biomass framework. Why I mention biomass framework? Because it's a key component in our security of energy. Okay, as we have to move out of coal, we need base load, we need increasing capacity, we need to get a price.
If I may, because the private sector is also a producer here.
Yes.
So you're not just a consumer.
So for that, to me to answer, okay, we need price which is right and at the same time balanced. We need a strong regulator, of course, with CEB.
By the way, URA was invited.
Yeah, URA is present. Good.
Thank you.
Very good. Okay, so this is important. At the same time, we don't want to have a leading distributor and part producer of electricity to be in a position which is not strong financially. Okay, so investment will, according to us, to come to the question of security and private sector share, investment will have to come definitely within a clear regulated body with price, but also with some visibility on CEB, according to us, spending much more on a smart grid Okay, smart grid is extremely important to be able to yeah, to get that. But from a private sector perspective, Khalil, that's so. It is not a matter of only the price. It's a matter of the regulatory body. It's a matter of the vision, and it's a matter of strategy. And we're very happy to hear the minister mentioning that there will be a legal framework with renewable energy. That's very important.
Thank you. Shamsia, Mr. Makoun, and also probably a word of cross-subsidization, as you answered.
So I think this subject will need maybe a whole day to discuss that, but I'll try to make it short. As you know, the customer base that we have about 1/3 residential, 1/3 commercial, and 1/3 industrial. So for a long time, the average tariff, how do we calculate the average tariff? We have in the system machines that run 24 hours. They are the IPP old buckets. We have machines that we start in the morning and we stop at night, the heavy fuel oil plants. And then you have the hydro, the peaks, whenever they are available. And each technology has a different cost of generation. So what we have to do, we have to work out what is our average cost of generation. And you heard that the peak generator, which is the gas turbine, is 17 rupees a kilowatt hour. But our average selling price is about 7 rupees, Iqbal?
Yes.
So 7 rupees. So what we do, we have to blend that to come up with an average tariff. But certainly there are tariffs for residential, industrial, and commercial. Today it's clear. We all know that commercial customers pay higher than 7, and industrial were paying lower than. So it's an economic decision. Whether CEB is in a financial situation, red zone, is not an issue. It should be in such a way that the tariff for electricity fuel the economy. When you have economic gain, even if we are in the red financially, it may not be a big issue. So the financial situation, I'd say, is not the certain element that we have to focus on. The main point that we have to focus on is when we say we are moving into renewable energy. Now, the cost of investment in renewable energy today, to make it as equal to firm power, adding battery on that, and during the lifetime, if you compare a 20-year project for battery PV with the conventional system, it is almost the same. But we have to go in step by step. What I mean is that you may end up in a situation, you have a very good CNIS project operating, and suddenly you fail. What is your responsibility in terms of the grid? CEB has to find a capacity somewhere to back up your system. So CEB has the ultimate responsibility to do the backup for anybody. Everybody says that CEB doesn't allow us to put so many megawatts, but whenever you have solar, you're producing your electricity kilowatt hour, energy I mean, there's a difference between energy and power. The energy, you are consuming it. And we don't see, and we don't even get anything out of the kilowatt hour on our side. Only when you buy from us that you pay us kilowatt hour plus a contribution. Now, what is that contribution? It is the cost of being standby for you. So if you have 20 megawatt running and you fail, you still have to supply. The responsibility, I acknowledge that CEB is responsible to supply and to fuel the economy. There is no way out. We cannot tell investor that we cannot supply. This we are killing our economy. But how we end up here, I have to say it now. We had a philosophy of planning that was focused on in the past years. There was a time when it was said that we need to do 60% renewable, the target was there. Certain people say, okay, we can do, CEB is not allowing us to go in, and there was a certain decision that was taken. Stop investment in firm power. We will supply the country with PV and we'll be fine. Now there are technical issues. Practically, there are things that we have to work on. And we have found out today that we have not had those PV systems in place, and we ended up in this situation today. Projects of firm power that was developed in 2015, 17, was supposed to come online in 21, was duly cancelled. Maybe because of financial situation or whatever, I don't know why. I'm not pointing fingers to anybody. If that project was on as per the planning criteria, you would have never noticed that there was an issue in supply. So the 60% of energy, as the minister mentioned, came down from 22 to 18 instead of going up to 60. So we have to learn from this so that future decisions are done in terms of we look at energy security first and then renewable energy in parallel.
Maybe it's good to talk about what happened, what lessons to learn, because I think EDB was involved, not you personally, in the past, in identifying projects, and many projects, if not most of them, have been delayed, some of them cancelled, and we need not to repeat the same mistakes. And one of the solutions we think is we need that strategic plan, probably even a renewable energy, sustainable energy law. But can you tell us from the EDB point of view, why projects, we have heard about land and other issues, were blocked or were delayed, and probably what have you done? I know you have done some interesting things over the last 7-8 months to release some of the projects and fast-track some of them where it's possible. Can you share with us what went wrong and what has been done in order to accelerate, where possible, the progress, the development of renewable energy? We are referring, Mr. Mankun mentioned it, those projects which were there but have never happened. And this is why we're in the situation today.
Yes, thanks. With regards to the EDB, our role comes in after the CEB awards a contract or a letter of intent, irrespective being a tender-based project or a project that is secured in this scheme.
So I must ask him the question, why was
Yes. So we do not choose the investors of the project. It's following a letter of intent from the CEB that we start the facilitation project. Just to replace the discussion is that we have since 2022 we have 4 projects that has been commissioned, 25.6 megawatt and 1.1 billion of investment. And as you've rightly mentioned, I'll just pass on the project status, and then we come on the blocking points. Right now we have 15 projects that have kick-started construction, 86 megawatt, 6.9 billion of investment that would be required. Project to start construction or nearly finished with the licensing, 8 projects, 59 megawatt, 4.6 billion planned investment. Projects under licensing, 12 projects. It's about 120 megawatt about planned capacity, 8.9 billion of investment. Project with major issues, 7 projects have complex issues to be resolved. These include they have been wrongly planning gazetted irrigation zones, issues to firming up with shareholders' pledge, etc. The average investment would be about 4.7 billion. So just if these projects, we exclude the less probabilistic project that has major issues. Commissioning of these projects would allow an inflow of 21.1 billion of investment in the economy by 2028. Only these projects, and 17% about contribution of renewable energy for these projects that are being implemented right now. So,
if I may,
what happened?
Just to be clear, and the minister mentioned other projects as well. So some of them overlapping.
No, the other project that the minister mentioned today is the upcoming project from tenders.
So we already, just to be clear in my mind and everyone, you mentioned therefore about 20 billion.
Yeah.
And then there are new projects
that we
announced yesterday and have been mentioned today.
So we are speaking here about projects that have secured contract with the CEB, is under licensing or under construction. So these are projects that are firm projects with.
Thank you. Just to bring in Raj, how do you think realistic it is when it comes to There are two things, therefore. One, those projects Mr. Morgan mentioned, and then future just announced initiatives. Most of them schemes, not only schemes, but also, how do you think realistically it is possible to deliver in terms, when from your point of view, the private sector, because a lot of the investment is either foreign or local.
Thank you, thank you. No, to add on to what Dwayne said, I think let's talk about solar. We'll talk about biomass later, it's a different issue. We can go from 4% to 18% in terms of contribution in the electricity mix. And we have investment lined up around 20 billion. In the budget speech, we mentioned 30 billion for the 3 years. I'm convinced, without doubt, that we will go faster in terms of solar than 3 years, definitely.
Why?
Because now we have a clearance mechanism which is working, and this is what I wanted to highlight. It's so important. I was so happy to hear the minister mentioning about a framework, a legal framework. Each today, a number of institutions, they have their own laws. I signed an interconnection agreement with CEB. Okay, it's signed in May 2023. I have 12 months to implement the project. In it, I have to get first my EIA. I have to get my LCP, the land conversion permit. Then when I get it, I have to get my BLUP, a building and land use permit. And each institution has its own law. For land conversion permit, there is a provision under the SIE Act. It is Article 23, whereby the Ministry of Agriculture under the SIE Act have the right, if a project is approved by EDB and has an investment certificate, to give it the land conversion permit. But there's no timeline, and therefore it is within the policy. So the interconnection agreement is signed by CEB. EDB under law can give the investment certificate. The land conversion permit, though in law there is a provision for it, there is no timeline. They under the SIE Act, which we worked for it to change. And then EIA can move. So the Ministry of Energy has no legal locus standi on that. And in fact, we had made...
Unless there's a new law.
Unless there's a new law. We had made a proposition during the budget that we need a regulation where the Ministry of Energy is given the legal power to do l'arbitrage. Because then it is taken care of. Just a committee that will fast track helps a lot. Division is helping, but we need a legal locus standi to make that happen, so that, as Shamsher was saying rightly, energy is a matter of the economy. We're talking about AI today. AI is what? Just imagine, having big data and all this. It's energy at the end of the day. Okay, so clearly we need that. Okay, so this is around that component. So in the 6 pillars,
You
which
should
came
also add EIA, which is often
course,
an issue.
but EIA, we can move faster, I must confess.
Without
because from
getting
this
the
standpoint-
mandate, it's under another
Yeah,
ministry.
it is another. But there is somewhere to get all the silos under that
There can be
particular
some
legal framework.
harmonization.
Harmonization and arbitrage.
Sancher wants to say something?
Yeah.
And then we'll pass the floor to anyone who wants to intervene. So,
I'll just say
can you get the
a
microphone?
few items. In terms of the harmonization of all the permits and everything, I think the minister gave the signal that the Renewable Energy Act has to be there. This is very important. We are already working closely with the ministry to unlock all the projects that are dormant and cannot move. Things are going well. Now we're confident that by next year, most of them will be online. And there is also important that we know that we have a utility regulatory authority in the whole, overseeing all the different sectors. So we will have to even better harmonize what our responsibilities of each and one other, the URA must act as the policeman in the system and to give guidance also, so that we can go faster. Now, another point is, you mentioned AI. I want to say that today AI is driving the energy sector. Today, if you're going to order one gas turbine, you have to wait for 1.5 years. Because AI is ordering all the gas turbines all over the world. Because the AI requirement is 99.99% availability. They can't fail.
And
batteries is coming, and a lot of investment is required. I will say that to end up, today you're doing your diamond jubilee, and we say diamond is coal and graphite, so we will try to eliminate coal in the system, in the target that we have set.
We won't use coal for producing diamond for producing electricity.
Okay, so then I'll end up on that with
Thank you.
what Albert Einstein said, that is, imagination is better than knowledge.
Exactly. Thank you. We have one gentleman at the back, and I would like, you want probably you are, if you want to intervene, but let's introduce yourself briefly, and can you please then go ahead with your question
Thank
or
you.
comment.
Thank you, Professor. I'm Jean-Luc Huilin. Maybe some of you knew me as a member of IBL Group now. I founded a company focused on strategy, energy, climate issues, and sustainable development. Of course, I wrote a book about sovereignty in Mauritius 5 years ago, and of course, energy was important in it. I have a few questions. I'll try to be very quick. First, I had the opportunity to work in the scope of the Chartered Institute and of a conference regarding mobility, and clearly it appears that energy and mobility had to be planned together.
Transport.
Transport, mobility, personal mobility and transport, yes.
Sure.
Later, I had the opportunity to work with a private company about building better with less. Okay, it was clear that energy was strongly related with building, and so it's clear that all these three parts has to be planned together. As an example, and you talk about the demand management, you know that every house can be a battery, because if you put the clean during the day and the house will stay fresh during the day, you won't need to put the clean at night, and then the peak 6 to 11 may be lowered significantly, for instance.
Free cooling, yeah?
Yeah, so this is an example of
Maybe you come
thing
to your
that can
question
emerge.
so that...
Yes, sorry. So my question is that in many missions, I face people who say, I have possibility to install X megawatt of solar panel, but I got authorization only for half of it or a third of it. Okay. Most often, the reason advanced is the difficulty for the network to absorb these capacities, and so I would like to have an idea about the amount of investment that would represent to enable the network to get this.
Thank you.
Another question I have, sorry.
We can take it later. We listen to someone else and then we come back to you.
Okay.
If you allow me.
Okay,
Because
no problem.
I'll leave the floor to Mr. Makun, and I can see also other people from CEB who may join in. Mr. Makun, and anyone.
Yeah, so in terms of network, it's true, it's a fact that we have the network capability of absorbing power at different points, because we operate at transmission level high voltage and then medium voltage and then a low voltage, and the size of conductors have to be calculated, and with the increase in demand and number of customers, we come to sometimes saturation point. Now,
I think there's also you're referring to transmission.
yeah, transmission system, yeah, it's a network. It's a network, so it's not the generation capacity. Now, you have all maybe heard about the CEB publishing the Integrated Electricity Plan. What is the Integrated Electricity Plan? From what we saw, we see all the strategic plan. We need a roadmap for renewable energy. We need to do demand, and we need to have forecast of generation planning. Same way, we forecast for generation planning over 10 years, we have to forecast for transmission planning over 10 years. We have to have clear visibility on what are the projects which are going to come. How are you going to achieve 60% with how much solar, how much wind? If we have a plan published over that span, then the transmission network plan upgrade will go along. So we had a plan which expired in 2022, but unfortunately the plan has not yet been out. We are working on the plan, and I've taken a bet that we have to get the plan 2026 to 2000.
Commitment, you mean?
Commitment, yeah.
Not a bet.
Bet, sorry. It's a
Don't
commitment as such, just to put, hang myself if I can't get it out. For 10 years, we need to give visibility. The minister has been clear. He wants things to happen. For me to be able to make things happen, we need to give clear visibility to you people. So this is what we are working on, and this plan will definitely come out to give you,
Thank you.
a clearance on
I
that.
think, if I may, it's also about replacing all engines and machines.
This is part of the plan.
Thank you. Other questions, please? I know you very well. You're my very good friend. Just be brief.
As you know me, it's going to be very hard. So thank you very much
You
first
have
of
a
all.
red alert if need be. Don't worry.
For some reason, when I walked the door, they told me that already. I just want to go quickly on some of the speeches that we've been hearing since this morning. For those that doesn't know me, my name is Omi Ajoda, and I am trying to bring an innovative concept into solar energy into Mauritius. Everybody is making so much reference to what the minister has been saying this morning. Unfortunately, we have heard that also the last 5 years and the 5 years before that from other ministers, and we are still having that same conversation. So obviously, we are taking the same thing, trying to find a new solution, and we're not getting there. Second thing that I also noticed is we talked a lot about biomass evolution in the future, going into wood chips, importing from South Africa, etc. I don't understand if we are really looking at solving a problem or actually just transferring a problem from coal to wood chip, because if both still don't get to us, then we still will not have electricity. So can we consider about how we can produce our own biomass if this is what we want to be
If I
looking
may,
at?
this is a very good question which needs a
I
very good
always
answer.
ask you good questions,
Yeah, no,
Mr.
I
Eli.
asked probably Raj Makun, because this is a key question.
Yes.
Can you address that biomass issue? Are we not just replacing coal by biomass? And he doesn't want to say it, but we hear about that issue of the big IPPs still controlling the power sector.
No, the question, if I may, the question regarding biomass is so important, and thank you for giving us the opportunity. You know, it took 14 years to reach a price of kilowatt hour of bagasse. You know, I mean, 14 years, we've been working for that. And after 14 years, there have been a price of 350, speaking of the corruption of Iqbal, which translated in terms of the producers of sugarcane is around 3,350, okay, per ton of sugar. It adds to the sustainability of biomass. The question is right, but Mauritius, we have to be realistic, will not be able to replace the whole coal by biomass local until we can really develop a whole biomass supply chain. But clearly there is now a commitment, because the biomass framework has been there, but now we have to work. I'm given to understand that there are studies which have been done on which there will be some proposals that will give the visibility for production of biomass or imports of biomass, okay? Because in terms of emissions, coal is more risky, is worse than biomass. It's another debate. I don't want to come into that debate. But what I want to tell you, we need, as Shamshir was saying, a visibility on the biomass framework, non-bagasse, that is the other
Local
component,
or imported?
local or important, and there's work to be done to build a supply chain with Madagascar, okay, for regional cooperation.
Not now, though.
Not now, with Namibia, definitely with South Africa, Port Elizabeth, and the work is being done and at the port level, and there will be a test case that is being structured so that we have a biomass answer. So why I'm referring to that? Because in the discussions taking place today, it's getting much more concrete. We need to get a price, we get to get a supply chain, we got to regional cooperation, storage with the port, but it's going to be a real game changer. Now imagine a biomass solution with a solar solution, with some of the wind solution, and a clear regulatory environment, with the CEB having a smart and strong grid, and also ascertaining security. This is what is emerging. I'm seeing that, okay, of the last number of years, and this clarity, this visibility is extremely important, okay? So today, with respect to energy, take the point that it's more than just electricity. Transport is a major issue. Look at the impact it has on a balance of trade today. Energy is one of the major components on that.
Take the question about
Yes.
mobility and transport. Since you have just mentioned
Mobility,
green transport.
the answer is we need to have a grid which has less fossils, so that when there is mobility, say the EVs, that will at least not be seen to be not serious. We need a grid
or even
which is less
for
fossil.
that matter.
Yes.
Take,
Yes.
CEB has got 100
Yeah.
electric buses.
So this is the way forward, and I think they are mutually reinforcing, Shamshir. This would be my position.
And, as I said to the gentleman, give the chance to someone else. If there's no question, we come back to the gentleman and then to you. There's one from a lady here, and a fourth one. So I suggest during the break or the finger lunch, you have some food for thought as well, or give it to some people. Please introduce yourself. We have also about 10 minutes maximum, and then we're going to conclude.
Thank you very much. My name is Biko Banda. I am a PhD student here at the University of Mauritius under the Faculty of Engineering. It's
You're doing
very
a PhD on what?
integration of renewables in the SADC region.
Okay.
Yes.
In the SADC region. Quite interesting.
It's very interesting to hear the strategic plan for Mauritius in itself, in terms of integrating renewables and then seeing how energy security is ensured. But one thing that's concerning for me and that I haven't heard is Mauritius interconnected to other countries? And then I see this coming in as a problem because in one of the speeches that was mentioned, it was said, if we have abundant renewables, we'll find ourselves with excess energy. So I would like to hear, perhaps from CEB as well as the other panelists, to say on what, if interconnection is being seen as a solution, and this is in the sense of energy trading, energy security, as well as not being independent on its own, but also trying to bring across cross investment across the African continent in itself.
I leave the floor to Mr. Macron.
Okay, so first of all, I'll say straightforward that the interconnection is not on the agenda right now. Given its complexity and the distance where we are from the African mainland, it's not on the table today. Maybe with technology in the future, it's going to be there. And you say that in terms of integration of renewable energy in the SADC, so on the African continent, you have the South African power pool, you have all the interconnection where you have a better, strong, resilient grid, which can absorb and you can supply your neighbor when you have excess. When the one is sleeping, this one is awake. So you have that facility. But here, we are talking about possibly excess of solar power during the day, but we have to be imaginative, as I said before. So I know that university is working on a project of hydrogen production. So we have to find ways and means, green hydrogen, so which might be a solution when you have excess energy. So you can produce hydrogen, or you can store in battery. So we have multiple possibilities to address this. So we should not be afraid of going in PV, but with ways and means, not to just throw the energy away, but to put it in batteries to be used. So this is the thinking that we have right now.
one word from Raj rapidly.
No,
We'll
just
listen
to comment on your point raised regarding integration of the
Do you
region.
think President Macron will make a link
Yeah.
between Mauritius and
No, I concur with definitely the point of Shamshir, given our distance and the technology. But one area which is very important, on which we can make progress in regional cooperation, is to have the legal and regulatory environment. In 1994, when we started to review our ICT sector in Mauritius, there was a waiting list for 240,000 demanders for a fixed line. Technology changed it, but also the regulatory environment changed it, okay? So just imagine if at the level of SADC, we can have the right legal and regulatory environment for investment to move into renewable energy and distribution, it would make a change. Because the whole regulatory environment in ICT has changed. Mauritius would never have had that level of penetration if we were run only by cable and
it's a
wireless.
paradigm shift?
Yes, it's a paradigm shift. It's very important. Okay, if you've got colleagues doing PhD on other subjects in energy, that's an area.
Just one word. SADC is probably a region where you have a lot of interconnectivity on mainland Africa. But I think you're telling us about something which is not completely, allow me to say crazy, because between mainland Europe and the islands in the Mediterranean, you do have interconnectivity, which is far more than the distance between Mauritius and Réunion. But of course, this can't be held at this level. So we take the question with any further waiting from gentlemen.
I'm Rohit Dipo. I'm a researcher. Lately, I've just developed a system which generates electricity on a 24 hours basis without the use of fossil fuel, without water, without battery, without wind. I just generate electricity on 24 hours basis.
With
So
what?
I just wanted to say this good news to you all because you're all struggling about the
With what?
intermittency.
I mean,
Yes, I just make use of gravity and counterbalance wheel.
I saw one last week. It wasn't yours, but keep going.
Yeah.
It wasn't working, by the way.
Right. So I have been researching for about 15 years. I have done so many research and so many type of generation of electricity. Most of them have worked successfully. So I just wanted to give some help to the CEB because seeing the problematics which you are all having, especially with the intermittency of solar power, of the wind power. So my system will solve most of the problem. Also, we were talking with
Another question, or is it?
Yeah.
same.
Okay,
So
complete your question, then Mr.
then-
Macron.
Right. So I just want to connect. I have a small prototype of 5 kilowatts which run continuously non-stop, and I want to make a 200 kilowatt unit and supply to the CEB. So I need finance, but the bank say I'm too old, my hair is gray now. So I need a letter of intent from the CEB so that I can get the finance.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
So first of all, I can see that you have a lot of imagination. And being I've been a student here 1982 to 1986, what my lecturer had taught me that energy can never be created nor destroyed.
We still teach
So
the same thing.
I don't know whether there has been new theories, things have evolved, maybe I'm not aware. But in terms of innovative projects, I know that the Mauritius Research Council at some point had a scheme for innovative projects.
MARENA has one.
You have one. So you can register your project there. Then what we're going to do, we're going to come and assess your project. So we need to do the testing as per our technical know-how to confirm what you're claiming, that you produce electricity from nothing, from gravity. So we have to ascertain that first. So we will do some kind of test. We did that, I personally did that with one of a similar claim a few years ago. But when we came with our testing equipment, when we started the monitoring, the guy said, no, it's patented, you're going to steal my knowledge, so, and it went
Is
away.
it the one in Foresight?
Yes,
Yeah,
it was.
I've seen it.
So, but you're welcome to bring that up, and we can have a look at it.
Thank you.
Excuse me,
yes.
Very rapidly, otherwise the last question here. You can talk to Mr. Makun.
Yeah, we can always.
You can make an
keep in touch.
application
We
at
have to have
MARENA as
different,
well. There's a scheme for new emerging technologies. I'm not sure about MRIC. I think MRIC is in the room as well, I'm quite sure. No? Anyway.
Yes.
Last question, please.
Bonjour, good morning. I'm Prakash Ramya, Renewable Energy Consultant. Thank you for this interesting session that I've started since yesterday with the Minister's report. And my question to Mr. Makun is about the demand response protocol mechanism that have been put in place for the CNS scheme. Would it be wise to extend it at later stage to the MSDG, SSDG? Because as Professor Lai mentioned, energy generators, clean energy generators are becoming like a battery. It can be a distributed battery around the country.
The question is, I would like add also time of use.
Time of use.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, I think you mentioned about demand response protocol.
Two things.
So there are two things. The protocol for, I mean, it relates to the labeling, green, yellow, and red. This is for the alert. Demand response is the contract that we have signed with the IPPs. Yeah. So whenever we need them, how it works? Yeah, how it works? It's that at the time of peak, when we see that we're going to need them, we'll give them an alert that they will switch off from the network, go off the line, reduce the demand, and work on their own generators. Then there's a calculation made how are we compensating them for, because it costs them more than buying to the network. So you're saying that you will need to have this extended to other. Now it has to be a kind of power which, when we just request for that, you're able to deliver. So then I think it has to be a combination of PV and battery, some sort of that. But this scheme has to be studied and work upon to know what will be the tariff, what will be the cost, and these are things that we can think about.
Thank you. And if I may, I mean, this is from the producer point of view, because we've talked, of course, about tariff, cost. It's always about what time do we produce and what time do we consume. Hence, we haven't talked about that today. We'll have the chance. Time of use is also one of the issues which is critical to whatever we are saying about security. We have therefore had the last question. I do apologize because we have used all the time. I'll just make 1 minute summary, and then I'll leave the floor to the MC and Dr. Gurchan, who's been, by the way, instrumental in organizing all this from the UN point of view, and Mr. Bendu and MARENA also from the other side. The concluding note, I think we'll never finish this discussion, it's ongoing, but I think the takeaway will be that Renewable Energy Act, but in fact it's in the strategic plan, we call it a Sustainable Energy Act. I'll give you a simple example, because it's renewable energy. If you really want to implement it, it's not just about renewable energy. It has to be about sustainability. A simple example, I'm at EMO and at MARENA. You have to relate it to demand side. You have to relate it to energy efficiency. And in order to do that, not to mention now transport and other sectors, sustainability is the word. So it's Sustainable Energy Act, because, for instance, a simple example, buildings. Buildings are responsible for 50% of the energy we consume, but buildings don't fall under the Ministry of Energy and Public Utilities. It's under another ministry. So in order to have that holistic, integrated approach, that loi cadre, I think, is essential. I understand from the minister himself, and we are going to have, first of all, I understand, a cabinet paper on that, related to implementation of the strategic plan and definition with CEB and all stakeholders of that Sustainable Energy Act as it's being proposed. So we look forward to have, not probably that sort of forum, but probably meetings, working sessions, in order to get all stakeholders on board, in order to define that sustainable energy law which we need. Thank you, everyone. I do apologize.